It's a little different. First, like I can't feel what's it, you know?
Yeah, we need to read it up.
Yeah.
What time is that?
It's 7. It's a little different. First, like I can't feel what's it, you know?
Yeah, we need.
And you'll let me know when.
We should be good to go.
This is quite a view.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the May 17th, 2023 North Logan City Council meeting. We will begin with. Are we okay? Do we need to restart?
No.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we will excuse Craig Humphreys tonight. He's out of state. And we will start with the pledge led by Joni, after which I will say the prayer.
Join me in stand with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we ask that as we gather today that we can be blessed with thy guidance. We're thankful for this community in which we live. We're thankful for the citizens that we serve and for the water that is abundant this year. We ask that thou please bless us as a city, that we can be protected from the natural disasters that others are experiencing, and bless us to use our resources to assist them. Please help us to make wise decisions and to lead with a spirit, with thy spirit. And we ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. You couldn't tell, I didn't ask people in advance. All right, I would accept a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
All right, motion by Roger,
Second.
second by Emily, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. I don't believe we have any meeting minutes to approve tonight. Alan, if you'll go through follow-ups and action items.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Just jumping through here, we'll talk about a few of these things at the end of the meeting. Obviously, the Civic Center, you can see the progress that's taking place just east of this building. They were putting in some of the walls today, meaning the block or structural brick walls. They started doing some samples on that to make sure it looks right. The reimbursement of the green waste fee, Debbie has organized that. And hats off to her for putting that together so that we can reimburse the portion that Logan will reimburse back to the residents. And jumping down through here, they're test pumping well 5. Things are coming back well. They'll keep working on that though this week to get those numbers back in. We're working on various studies there along with that throughout the entire water system, updating several studies right now. Sewer, you'll see trucks going around. They're doing, I think they're nearly complete on what they call they use ultrasonic methods to scan the entire sewer system. We used to do this with a camera that would take 3 years. Now they can do it in 1 year at a much faster rate, and they identify areas of potential infiltration and areas we can look at, and they're going through and doing that right now. We're also working on several portions of our trunk line project right now. Streets, they're hiring, and you've probably seen them close down a few roads. They're coming in just doing patches. In the winter, they put in cold mix, and right now they go back through and they'll put in actual patches in each of those potholes to fix them. Asphalt's now in production. And then they're working on their road surface treatment plans. You've seen them probably out crack sealing a lot. They're doing that in preparation for road surface treatments throughout the summer. Stormwater, they're working on several projects. 3100 North is the one that we received the grant for. They'll come in and they'll work on a portion of 3100 North near the highway. That's where some of the discharge points for the canals, relief points, and they'll funnel it through some stormwater basins and pipes that they've been working on. Jumping down through, jumping to parks, Memorial Day is kind of Parks and Cemetery. They'll be prepping for that, getting everything ready, and they're still working on getting the irrigation to that park in order to alleviate those costs so they can use secondary water there. Trails, we'll probably put together a trails committee. We've been working on that, and I think that will be a good step So just kind of organize some of the efforts there. And make sure they're working with each of the property owners, along the Bonnewood Shoreline Trail, canal trails, other areas. And making sure that we just make some headway there. Recreation, extremely busy right now with recreation, with all the different programs coming in. And we'll go over some of the events at the end of the meeting. They do have a lot going on, as you can tell from any night in the parks. Facilities, they've done a number of safety trainings the past few weeks, which really has an effect, both in the morale of the employees, safe aspects of the employees, and it lowers our insurance costs because safety has improved within the city. So hats off to Dathan for doing that. We mentioned the cemetery earlier, community development. Scott, and we've gone over this. He did receive the grant from UDOT for the general plan updates. So that'll be a lengthy process for the next year and a half to 2 years of going through that. And right now he's working on the RFP and the scope of work and several other things. And they'll talk about that in planning commission. I think this week is canceled because the schedule's conflicted for several planning commissioners, but they'll go over that. And then they'll talk about the ADU ordinances to clean up that ordinance. There's some ambiguity there that they probably need to fix. Economic development, we're working with several different businesses right now. Today was the grand opening for Mountain Land Supply, which went very well for those who attended. It's great to have that business in our community. And then we did meet with SNS as part of our monthly visit a business. I went over several things with them. It went very, very well. Treasure, they're setting up, they're looking into different methods they can use for PayPal or Venmo. They're easy for individuals, very hard for like a city to use and comply with payment methods with the auditor. So they're just trying to see what options they do have there. And then again, the communication with all the residents. We're trying to get out to every single resident throughout the community so they're on that list. So we can notify them of meetings, events, road closures, construction, you name it. So that is making headway right now. Jumping down through, we've had employee council, several good things came out of that from our human resources department. We have a few hirings right now, and Jesse will send that out to the city. I think it's already been posted on Facebook. Recorder, we'll talk about our budget at the we'll have public hearings on the beginning meeting in June regarding our budget. And that would be the end of this year revision and the proposed budget for next year. And I'm not anticipating many changes from what you've already seen. If I do see any changes, or if we work with the department heads, I'll make sure I highlight those at the next meeting, anything that's changed from the previous meetings that you have seen in that period. Library summer reading kickoff is coming up. It's a huge event, along with the rest of the summer reading programs and several programs over the summer that they have. Police, we've been working on several things with them, and it'll be law enforcement appreciation week this next week. We'll look at that along with some things this evening. And then fire department, the construction of their new station is coming along very well. And then the ambulance project should be done around July. And we had our extrication equipment demonstration this last week. And I think, Mayor, you should have received some of the photos. If you have any other questions, let me know on that. Sorry, this is a very quick update. If you have other questions in there on any particular department.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, we will move on to recognition of an exemplary staff member. Tonight, we will be recognizing Chief Brad Hannig, who was nominated by Debbie Bond. She says, contracting with Logan for fire services was a difficult decision, but one of the gems that we got out of that was Chief Brad Hannig. Brad has vast experience and worked many years in Las Vegas, then in the St. George area before coming to Utah and becoming a North Logan resident. Chief Hannig attends our staff meetings twice a month and is quick to volunteer to do training and offer sage advice. Brad has a gift for making people feel good about themselves, and you can tell he genuinely cares about North Logan City. We're grateful and lucky to have someone with a vested interest in our city as fire chief. So I'll add to that, Chief, it's been a pleasure working with you. We feel like we're in great hands, and we like that you are in our community so that we can knock on our door if we need anything, right? All right, let's give him a hand of applause. All right, we also tonight are going to be recognizing former planning commissioner Jeff Coleman, who is not here, so we'll be, I will read this. Commissioner Coleman served on the North Logan City Planning Commission for over 3 years, beginning in January of 2020. Commissioner Coleman served the city with his comprehensive planning and development experience throughout the COVID years and was extremely helpful in ensuring city business was able to continue unimpeded. Looking ahead, Jeff will be focusing more of his time toward the coaching of girls competitive fast pitch softball. Jeff will be missed on the planning commission and will leave large shoes to fill. I had the pleasure of serving with Jeff on planning commission, and he was a true asset to the city. He spent a lot of time outside of planning commission, understanding the issues, talking to the right people, and I enjoyed sparring with him in planning commission. So we really appreciate his service. Let's give him a hand of applause, even though he's not here. Okay, and then we have David Zook here tonight, who will be presenting a Bureau of Recreation funds from Cache County.
Thank you, Mayor. If it's okay, I'd just like to say a couple of other words before I do that.
Yeah.
Just wanted to thank you for meeting with me today. I had an opportunity to meet with your good mayor and your good city administrator and get an update on a lot of the awesome projects you have going on in North Logan. We talked about roads, we talked about trails, we talked about water, we talked about your civic center project, which is pretty exciting. And economic development, a whole variety of different things. You guys are doing a great job and you're in really good hands. And speaking of which, I just want to mention your mayor is awesome. I've had such a great opportunity to work with her over the last year, especially as we've been working through solid waste issues, as I'm sure she's given you lots of updates about. She was chosen by her fellow mayors to lead that effort and did an outstanding job leading. If this isn't enough to lead a council meeting with some other elected officials, imagine all the mayors in the valley in one room and leading that meeting. She did a fantastic job negotiating and helping us to get a really good agreement in place. And we are all better off due to her service. So thank you so much, Mayor, for leading that effort and helping us to do that. And I think it's awesome that you recognize your staff. Do you do that every time?
Yeah.
That is incredible because you do have a great team. I know just about everybody who's here. I've worked with them over the years, and you have a really good team. You're really blessed to be good in good hands here. I did live in North Logan for a time. Unfortunately, I don't live here anymore. And then for many years, I lived right over the border, really close to the North Logan border in Hyde Park. So I feel like this is my community. I feel like it matters to me a lot. Don't tell the other communities that I have a soft spot for North Logan in my heart, but I'm supposed to represent all of them equally, and I try my best to do that. But just wanted to thank you all for your service too. Thank you for stepping up and being willing to serve in your community. I know that it's sometimes a thankless job, so I'll tell you thank you right now. Thank you for your service. I think too often we hear from people who are upset about things, and they're the ones who come and talk to you or reach out to you. But I'll reach out to you today without anything I'm upset with you about, and just say thank you. I appreciate your service and for making Cache County a great place. This is really an incredible place. We're all blessed to live in a wonderful county here. And it's communities like yours that make it wonderful, and residents like yours that make it wonderful, and leaders like you that make it wonderful. So Mayor mentioned something about recreation and something about money. And the main reason I'm here tonight is because I wanted to thank you for your partnership with the county. And many years ago, I don't know the exact date, but decades ago, the county decided that it was going to build a new fairgrounds facility and got some federal funds to do that, and bought some land here in North Logan, where the high school is now. And not much was done with that land over the years. It used to be a fun corn maze that I used to take my kids to. We used to go to, and then you guys have done a few things, or did a few things there initially. And then the school came along, the school district came to the county and they said, hey, can we buy that land from you? We want to build a new school. And what we did at the county is we went to the feds and we said, hey, you gave us this grant money to buy this land. Can we sell it? And the federal government said, what do you mean? Didn't you build a park there? You were supposed to do that many years ago. You're gonna have to pay all that money back plus interest and penalties and all of those kinds of things. So the county was kind of in a difficult situation, and thankfully the feds agreed to let us work something out. So what the county did was the county said, do any of you cities want to partner with us and build some park space? We need to do it quickly. We need to get moving on this. But the county's not in the business of building parks. That's not really something we do. We have a fairgrounds, we have a senior center, but we don't really do that. Cities are really good at that though. So we asked, and North Logan stepped up. There were a couple of other cities, Hyde Park did this as well, and so did Nibley. And you stepped up and you said, we'll help you, we'll participate, we'll be part of this program. And since then, you've been working on some amazing park projects. You've made some expansions to Elk Ridge Park and the Cache Recreation Complex, which is what that area is called by the high school, is incredible. So beautiful, so heavily used, and so many amenities there. And I know it's not done, and there are other ideas about doing more there. And I hope we can partner on even more improvements there. And it's a great location. So I just wanted to thank you for that partnership that you entered into with the county. And I wanted to thank the city for all of your hard work. And I know it's ongoing, and there are still some pieces of it that you're working on. But thank you for working on all of those things by buying land, designing parks, building amenities, and making this a better place for all of us. As part of that partnership and that agreement, the county agreed to give you RAPS money for about a decade, an allocated amount. I think we're 8 years into that. Maybe this is the 9th year now of giving you that guaranteed RAPS money that we've been providing to help you develop that park. And then as part of the agreement, we also said that once we sold all of the rest of the land out there, that we would split it up and give a portion to each of you. And that's why I'm here tonight, because we have now sold all of those other parcels around the high school, and we had all the revenue and are ready to give it to you. And so I have a check with me tonight for $1.3 million. And I know you're going to use this to do even more great things. So if I may, I'll bring this up to you.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh. Go on. Did you say 1.3 million or 1,300? Okay, that's what I'm taking a picture. I knew it. I knew there was a catch.
I can do.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, sorry. All right. Well, David, just for the record, we invite anyone to have time at city council when they are so effusive, and if they bring millions dollars. Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate your kind words. All of the ones about me were overstated, except for the difficulty of corralling a room full of mayors. But I appreciate that, and we appreciate your work on our behalf. We've had a lot of occasions to work together with the county, and you've been a pleasure to work with too. So thank you for coming tonight. Okay. Man, it just keeps getting better and better. We're next going to read a proclamation recognizing the North Park Police Agency. Okay, that says, whereas the health and safety of all North Logan City residents is important to the happiness, prosperity, and well-being of our families and our community. And whereas North Logan City is part of the North Park Police Agency and is served by 15 officers in the agency, along with 13 key individuals within the department. And whereas these officers stand as leaders enforcing our laws and educating our community about the importance of public safety. And Whereas we appreciate the extraordinary efforts and sacrifices made by officers and their family members on a daily basis in order to protect us in our schools, workplaces, roadways, homes, and while recreating. And whereas NPPA officers strive to do their best to recognize, safeguard, and protect the rights of all citizens. Now, therefore, I, Lindsay Peterson, Mayor of North Logan City, Utah, do hereby proclaim the 17th of May, 2023 as Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in the city of North Logan, and encourage our citizens to do something special for our community's peacekeepers and to take the time to show appreciation for the risks and sacrifices of our officers undertake while protecting our community. Let's give our North Park Police a big hand. We had the opportunity to, Mayor Cox and I, to attend a banquet last night, honoring the NPPA, and we just really appreciate everything that you guys do for our community. If you would pass that along. We've just had some really exceptional acts of heroic acts that the officers have done in wearing the badge of the North Park Police Department, and we really couldn't be prouder of them. So thank you guys. All right, we will move on to the action items for tonight. The first is a public hearing to receive public input on a proposed resolution to amend the master fee schedule as it relates to disproportionate business license fees. Once the public hearing has occurred, the city council may consider approval of a resolution to amend the master fee schedule. Do we want to go over background of this and then we'll do the public hearing?
Yeah, I can do sort of a short background. We went over this at length in the last meeting. But I do want to touch on the key elements of this. The disproportionate business license fee is a fee after a lengthy study with Zion's Public Finance. It's basically a fee for businesses that disproportionately tax our public safety sector. Primarily, this one is solely related to fire and EMS. And what it is we have to establish a base fee. And so we go through. They do the lengthy study. They establish what would be a reasonable base fee or a base allotment. And what that is one call per month is included in that fee, meaning there's no cost whatsoever for a business to have one call per month to their business or establishment. But then beyond that, there's a fee established, and that's specified in the study, and it's $290 per response, $290. But when we looked through this, that was far less than the actual cost. And the base fee of one per month is usually way more than any business normally uses. The average is 0 for most of the business, 0.1, 0.2 for across the board. But what we saw in relation to the shift to this took years to implement. After this went into effect, the number of calls from several businesses that were disproportionately using our services reduced significantly. They basically changed their business operation. They changed their business practices, which was fantastic. But we did notice a few things. We knew that there'd be a learning curve to this. And what we noticed there was a few businesses that no matter how hard they tried and they really implemented certain things, they couldn't reduce below a certain level. And so what we wanted to see was the effort of them trying, and those businesses that did put forth effort reduced it to a certain level. And that's where we're kind of at the level where the city council has the option to slightly adjust that base amount. And a couple of years ago, they increased it for skilled nursing facilities because they couldn't reduce it below a certain level. And so we didn't want to unfairly tax them if they could get down to that level. And they did. And that was fantastic. And the same thing we're seeing now, there's categories of business. We don't say specific businesses, but categories of business is all this business license can apply to. And so the proposal with this in a nutshell is that fitness related facilities and retail 50,000 square feet plus would be given the same base rate of 3 as opposed to 1. So they would be given 3 calls per month before they would receive. If they exceed the 3 in a month, then they would have to pay for each call after that. And so that's basically how it's set up. And it was based off of 2 to 3 years now of data and of use. And I believe that they'll fall within that and they won't exceed that at this point, and not for the foreseeable future. But again, they've tried to reduce theirs as low as they can go. And that's essentially what the disproportionate business license fee is.
Okay. All right, let's open up the public hearing, and then we can discuss as a council. Instructions for speaking at a public hearing. Before you begin, state your name for the record, speak into the microphone, limit your statements to 2 minutes. If you're speaking on behalf of others, you may ask the chairperson for more time. Phrase your opinions in the form of statements, not questions. Address your comments to the council, not the public. And you may meet with the city council members or appropriate city staff before the public hearing, where dialogue can take place. So with that, we'll open up the public hearing. Okay, seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing. Discussion among council. Any other thoughts on this?
Just comment that I think Joni, you might have missed the last meeting when we discussed this, but this is exactly what we intended when we implemented this a couple of years ago, is that we would create a baseline, then relook at it based on business type. So I just happy to see us sticking to that arrangement, and hopefully the businesses recognize that. So nice work.
What is that fee? Did I miss that?
Yeah, it's 290 per response, once they exceed that.
There you go.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion on this.
Motion motion to
Adopt a resolution.
adopt the resolution to amend the master fee schedule as it relates to the disproportionate business license fees.
All
right. Motion by Buzzy. Was that Joni?
Yes.
Second by Joni. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Next, we have a public hearing to receive input on a proposed resolution to amend the master fee schedule as it relates to park reservation fees. Once that's occurred, the city council may consider approval of a resolution to amend the master fee schedule.
Hello, everyone. So what we're doing right now is, now that we have the new pickleball courts down at Elk Ridge Park, down at the Cash Rec Complex, it's time we need to update our master fee schedule so that we can start charging for reservation. Down there, those courts, just so you guys are aware, out of the 8 courts, 2 courts are reservable. And so if you scroll back to the top, there you go. So some of the changes are just highlighted in yellow, or all the changes that are highlighted in yellow. So what we've done is we have increased the special event permit fee. The special event permit is for anybody exceeding 150 people, have live music, and if they need a Bear River Health Department permit. So these are like those big events we have at the park, big races, stuff like that. The increase is just to help cover staff hours. It does take a lot of man hours to get those set up and to get those taken care of. If you scroll down a little bit, one of the things that's been changed is the removal of the city office building. So the city office was open for reservation, and we removed that just because it wasn't ever done. And when it was like once in 6 years. The other one that was removed was the library meeting room. This room here has been removed from the master fee schedule in this change. That's because since COVID, we stopped using this room as a mass gathering location because of COVID. But since then, it's just been so full of events for the library and city that there hasn't been availability for the public to use the building. If you go down, there's the pickleball courts. So the pickleball courts for a resident rate would be at $10 an hour. You would be limited to 2 courts for the max of 2 hours to be able to reserve that. And for a non-resident, it would be $25 per hour. For a tournament or a special event, they can reserve those. It would be at $10 an hour, same rates, but it's 2 courts or more for more than 2 hours. So what that does is it helps us control if there's big tournaments, we can make sure they're following the rules. And yeah, so that's pickleball courts. If you scroll down, there's one other one that we removed. Oh, we added on the field prep fee. So on a baseball tournament, our staff goes out and preps the fields and chalks the lines and gets them all prepared for an event. So we have a couple of those a year. They have averaged taking our guys between 3 and 4 hours to prep those fields. And so that's why that increase has gone up, is just to cover our manpower costs. Same with the 20 per person. This was probably written back when wages were around $6.50 an hour. So if you scroll down, one more was the equestrian arena has been removed from there since we no longer have an
I
equestrian.
think it's
arena.
good to just keep that option open.
I know it's been on there for a long time. So those are the changes that have been proposed. I don't know if you guys have any questions or.
Do those
Or if
fees will
that's
pickle, did you guys model like other communities? Is that pretty? Like the going rate for pickleball? I don't,
Field is a good
Mhm.
example.
is that like what their prices are?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause you want to be in line with them. If you're lower, then all of a sudden there's so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and if someone comes in, is there some discretion about, like, say you have conflicting events, do you take it on a first come, first serve?
Yep.
Or, okay,
Yeah, and that's on the next one. We have reservation policies that are coming
Oh,
up
okay.
after this, and we'll go over that. But yeah,
okay.
that's how they're reserved.
And I'm assuming we'll probably need to amend this once we have additional facilities like city offices that have more than one conference room.
Yes, exactly. So
Okay.
we, every time we amend something, it has to come in the master fee schedule. So
Okay. All right, any other questions on that? And then we'll go to public hearing.
Yeah, you answered that one. I'm wondering if there's anything that we can offer for our residents where you say there's no difference between residents and non-resident fees. Is there anything that we can do for our residents?
yeah, so these are like volleyball pit, tennis court. Our residents do get a 6-month reservation window where non-residents get 3. So residents can reserve 6 months in advance. Non can only do 3. The reason those ones, tennis court and volleyball pit, were lower or just straight across is because we get a majority of residents that use those. It doesn't take a lot of man hours. And if you scroll up to the pickleball courts, there is a difference between resident and non-resident. And one of the reasons for that is just the residents should have a cheaper rate for us, well, for them building those courts. So
All of the other facilities are the same. There's a resident and non-resident fee
Okay, I
associated with that.
yeah,
think I just saw one area just.
it's the
little
tennis
bit
court.
tennis court.
But yeah, it's just tennis court and volleyball pit.
Okay,
I did work.
let's open that up for public hearing. We'll have the same rules for the public hearing as the previous one, so we'll consider that public hearing open. All right, seeing no comment, we'll close the public hearing, and if there's any other discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the changes outlined in the North Logan master fee schedule as in regards to park reservation fees.
All right, motion by Roger,
Second.
second by Emily, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to consider proposed changes to the North Logan City Park reservation and use policies. Welcome back.
I'm back. So this is kind of in line with the questions you asked about use policy. So currently our reservation is that residents get a 6-month window to where they can reserve a facility 6 months in advance. A non-resident is 3 months. But this policy, yeah, that's the one. So this policy is just basically an entire field use policy for all of our parks. We've had this in place now for probably 8 years, 9 years, something like that. So some of the things that have changed are with the dates. We've just opened those a little bit or just removed the specific 14th date because as this year you saw it was second week of May. Remove some language on recreation directors. If you go down further, the one things that we did add are, yeah, the reservation blocks. So if we have, all of our fields, just like the pickleball courts, are reserved in 2-hour blocks. So if you come in and reserve a field, unless it's a special event, then you can reserve it for only a 2-hour block. So if you scroll down again,
Sorry, you said 2 reservation blocks. Do you mean you could reserve it for 4 hours or
No,
just
one.
just
so
one?
one block is 1 hour. So
Oh,
two-
okay.
2 blocks is 2 hours.
It does say in E, a block may last up to 2 hours. So that might just be something to clarify.
Okay, yeah, we can
Thank
change
you.
that.
That's all.
Okay. I don't know who proofread this. If you want to scroll down a little bit. So this is all, it just goes over priorities. One thing, maybe scroll up, we can touch on that. One thing on priorities, just so you guys are aware, how fields are reserved. So North Logan Parks and Recreation events are first on the list of who gets to reserve fields. Co-sponsored programs, and then Cache County School District, resident, non-team based reservations. So that'd be like a team-based would be their soccer team, lacrosse team, football team. Non-resident, non-team based reservations would be then like just a family reserving. And then, non-base league or non-resident league, and then competing recreation programs. So if we were to get multiples at the same time, that's how we would differentiate the order on who went first.
Do you have one? I'm sorry, this may be a dumb question, but do we have one for resident team based? Like, do we have one that doesn't involve non-team? Does that make sense? Like, so
Yeah.
say there, okay,
Yeah, usually those fit in with number one.
there's,
with
oh,
the
okay.
Parks and Recreation. So if you're in our park and recreation program, so like when you come in and reserve a building, you're within that program. And so then you would be in the number one slot.
Okay. What about like Aggie, soccer?
Yeah. So
Where do
that
they
would
fit in?
be, they have to, so it'd either be a resident non-team based, sorry, a resident based league or a non-resident based league, depending on
Oh, I
the
see.
composition of their team. If it's in
Oh,
here,
I
it talks
see.
about 51% of their team is a resident or are residents versus non-residents.
Oh, okay.
So we
see it
make it
now.
apply with the roster.
Do you mind, what's a co-sponsored program or event?
So a co-sponsored program or event would be like, let me think. So like we've co-sponsored the tour of Utah. So that was a
Oh,
co-sponsored event.
okay.
We've co-sponsored a lot of fun runs to help with charity charity donations. The Ride for the Fallen in the fall, the memorial wall that came in.
Right.
So stuff like that, where we as a city kind of join forces with them.
All right, thank you.
If you want to go down, some of the major changes to this one, it kind of defines what they are. But some of the major changes to this one were the addition of the pickleball courts, as well as the fields down at the high school. So if you go down a little further, right in here. So this kind of goes over the fields at the baseball and softball at the CRC. So in the past, we haven't had a very tight schedule or a tight reservation policy for those fields. And what we've seen is there's been some issues with that. So those fields are open to the public and open for public use, but competing or competition baseball teams will come in and not use the field appropriately, try to move bases, want to move the mound, and we can't do that just because the field sizes are set. Same with the softball field. And so on this, we've added an appendix for care policies of those two fields. Baseball fields are taken care of a little bit differently than a soccer field. Soccer field, you show up, play, you leave. Baseball field, you've got the infield, you have the mound, the batter box. And so if those aren't taken care of, they deteriorate really quickly. And so since that field is split with us and the high school uses it during high school season, we take care of it all summer and all fall. And we want to open that for more reservations and basically open it for more use. The only thing is we want them to follow the field care policies so that they don't just ruin the field. So that was the one thing added to that policy. The other one that was added was talking about pickleball courts, how the pickleball courts are reservable, and kind of some rules on how you have to wear athletic shoes and you have to take care of the pickleball courts. You can't just trash them. So those are the big changes to this policy that we've added.
Okay, any other questions for Jordan?
You probably do want to clean up that one line so it's clear.
Yeah. Do you want to highlight it real quick and just put a cleanup note and we can take care of that?
You want us to
That
motion
one
on this
for
with
E.
those changes included with Emily's?
Emily's
No more
sketch.
than 2 reservation blocks. Shouldn't say 1 reservation block.
No, it is 2, but where it is a block
Yeah.
may last
Up
up
to.
to 2 hours. So that would be up.
Up
It would
to
just
1
be
hour?
1 hour.
A
Yeah.
block
hour,
is,
yeah.
Because in our system, when you reserve it, it's per hour. So I don't know how we went above up to or over 2 hours or up to 2 hours. So yeah, it would just change that.
good job, Emily.
What I'm here for.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion on this.
Yeah, I'll motion that we approve the changes to the North Logan City Park reservation and use policies.
All right, motion by Lizzie,
Second.
second by Emily, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thanks,
Thanks.
Jordan. All right, we'll now consider approval of proposed election officers and workers.
And this is for helping me out during the election time. We're using current city staff, so there won't be any additional expense. Karen Jukes and Vicky Henson, I will deputize them because there'll be one day that I can't accept candidate filings, and so they will be at the city office to accept those candidate filings on June 6th. Other than that, I'll be there to accept the filings,
Okay.
and that's what this is for.
Do we need to change Krista's?
Yeah, the last line here.
Just put North,
You just say
Change-
North
yeah,
Logan
well-
receptionist.
we'll change that to North Logan Receptionist AM and North Logan Receptionist PM.
Sounds great. Okay. Any questions on this? This is, I'm assuming what we've always done is had North Logan staff
Mhm.
help with election.
Mhm.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Joni. Do you want to state your motion? Sorry.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the proposed election officers and workers.
Okay, motion by Joni,
Second,
second by
By
each of
Roger.
the officers.
second.
Second by Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thanks. We'll move on to the work session items, starting with a discussion regarding the landscape rebate program from the state's Division of Water Resources and what North Logan will need to do to qualify.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Just can make this my home tonight. So one of the things that's been pushed statewide is the Flip the Strip program. In the past, Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District has really been the key department that's taken on this. They've issued the rebates and they've done basically all of the incentives for the Flip the Strip program. Recently, it was in March, they started to accept applications for cities to jump into that program, and that the DNR would actually, well, the Division of Water Resources would actually issue the funds. So we can now make our city eligible for those funds, but there are some requirements that we would have to do on the city side. And so these are the requirements that they have told us we need to do. No lawn or parking strips or areas, park strips, or that makes Alan mad if you say parking strips, or park strips or areas less than 8 feet in width in all new residential development. So we would need to change our road cross sections to adjust all of our park strips to 8 feet minimum. So some of our park strips are 5 feet. We've done a good job at expanding those up to 5. But according to this, to be able to be eligible, we'd have to move it to 8. No more than 50% of front yard landscaped area, new residential developments is lawn. So we've looked at a lot of those. There are quite a few that actually meet that already. It's kind of been the standard to put a big planter in their front yard and to put some walkway in their driveway, some big tree sections. So there are some areas that do fit that. So if you look around at houses, you'll be able to see that there are quite a few that are already following that, but we would have to make that code for new residential from that point on. The exception is if they have less than 250 square feet in their frontage, they wouldn't have to abide by that. And then the commercial, industrial, and institutional, I believe, and you guys can correct me, but we're pretty much already on that. Scott just jumped, but exceed 20% of the total landscaped area outside of active recreation areas. So if they had a green or open space, that wouldn't apply to this, but most of our commercial and industrial is already following this with xeriscaping. If you go out west, 200 west, those are prime examples of areas that have come in and developed and have done a good job of that. One other thing, if you want to click on that conservewater.utah, there are some requirements. It's not just a straight, if you change the park strip, you will get $1.50 back. There's quite a few steps that the resident would have to follow. So if you click on frequently asked questions, this kind of gives a good example, and it has up from $1.25 that's on here to $1.50. Basically what you have to do is you would have to present a plan following their resources, their helpful resources. There's a lot of things that talk about how much area you have to plant, how much can be rock, how much can be trees, how much can be shrubs. And so it's really closer to about a 50% of the landscape in that park strip has to be some sort of water-wise landscape. You do have to have drip irrigation to them. And it would only apply to existing homes, and you couldn't have done this before we initiated the program. So if you were out there in the middle of your program currently, or changing your park strip, this wouldn't work for you. So you couldn't go back and apply for this. You have to have a pre-visit. I think they're gonna change that pre-visit from my emails to just being like photos and documentation to show your park strip before you start this program. And then you'd have to send a picture of it after to be able for them to send you a check. And you have a 6-month window to complete it. So there are some requirements. It's not just a straight do whatever you want on that park strip as long as there's not turf. There are quite a few requirements on what you would have to do in order to qualify. So it's a good opportunity. We've looked into the flip the strip for residential, and it can get pretty costly if people were to do it. It does create some great roads if we have street trees in them. But this is an opportunity for basically the division of the DNR to take the lead on the dollar. So it would have to be approved in our city code and then change some of our DSTMs to fit these.
Sounds like one of those mail-in rebates that no one ever sends in. And it's in the fine print.
So-
Yeah.
Do we have to adopt these things before any of our citizens are eligible?
Correct. Yep,
Okay.
once it's adopted, so I spoke with them, once it's adopted, we send our minutes to them to show and our city code that shows we've changed it. And then our residents will become eligible for the program.
There is just a correction on that. North Logan, as you well know, last year, the year before we started is last year. North Logan implemented the Flip the Strip program for commercial, and we offered this program as well. And we were going to subsidize it through a water rebate over time because they would pay it off easily. And now this actually comes from the state, the rebate comes from them. And so that's why we're trying to implement this now. So it doesn't come from North Logan City or its residents, it comes from the state.
I do remember last year you were having people submit plans for approval, right? That was part of the process.
That was part of, the original one. So on the commercial, that's how we do it. Is
Okay.
we need them to submit a plan because it needs to follow like our commercial code for landscaping, or if they're on Main Street or if they front a main street, main type street, then they need to follow certain criteria. And so that is currently part of our commercial code, is that they need to present a plan.
Would this also be working then for commercial properties as well? Would they be applying? or
This
This
one
literally
only
just for
goes for
homeowners.
residential.
Single
Okay.
family,
Yep.
right?
So we would still offer the commercial one. This
Okay.
would only be for residential.
What do they have in there for weeds? Once you remove the grass, and you put in the
It's not an
rocks?
ongoing, they don't come back like every year to check it.
Do we?
No, so this would be a state-run program with the money,
Uh-huh.
but there would be compliance issues on weed side, but if they had dandelions grown in it, there's really not much we could do. Just like if they have dandelions in their park strip currently.
I don't prefer to be called out in a public meeting like this.
Sorry.
Just so we just need to adopt this into our code.
Yeah. So we have
Non-negotiables, so-
changes to the code and some changes to the DSTMs.
I'm just thinking through how many residents might take advantage of this, you know?
Gosh, I hope a lot of
There's
them.
Probably enough right now.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll say,
We get a lot of questions about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How extreme is that though? Like the 50%?
So if you go back to that website, there are some
Pretty
pictures.
good, I think.
If you
Just kinda
go
seen that,
to
you know,
helpful
like-
resources.
Lately, especially solid.
So these are some ideas that they put
Yeah.
together, and it's pretty, so I've gone through this a few times. It's not complicated to do. But what they want is just something that looks good. So if you scroll down a little bit to that like low grow. So some of them are very simple. So you can see some just have a really simple planting, the bottom one on the minimalist. If you go scroll down just a little more right there. Yeah. So that's got some bigger trees, and then it's just got individual shrubs. So it's a very minimal design.
But you can't
That
just
one-
throw rocks in it.
Correct. You can't
Okay.
just put rocks. So it does require you
good.
to do trees, and it does require you to do a plant.
so no one in my neighborhood is gonna do this, but we have a foot park strip.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really tricky on those ones with the 2-foot park strips.
What can we do to encourage, because I'll be honest with you, our park strips are a nightmare. And
Yeah.
most people are just cementing them over, and it would be nice to see, is there any like encouragement we can do for people to try to encourage them to flip it over?
Yeah, and maybe that's something what we could do is we could just see on this, because I don't know where they stop on their park strip. It might
Hmm.
be a 4-foot or more, just because of the sizing requirements that they'd have.
Yeah,
So maybe we could look into the city offering one from a 4 foot down. as a
Does the
water
state just
credit
feel
for
like 2
commercial.
feet is minimalist enough that it's not a huge impact on the water system?
It's
Is that
really,
my
we
assumption?
don't have a lot of water use in those.
Yeah.
It's more headaches. But as far as water use, it's not a huge deal.
I mean, the trees that are in those park strips are ripping up the
Yeah.
sidewalks.
Yeah.
Like, they're just so small, they're almost worthless
Yeah.
at that point.
So from a water use side, that's not a big deal, but from a looks and how it functions perspective, it's
Yeah.
not a great setup.
So ultimately, would we have a public hearing on this? No.
To change sections of Title 12, anything that changes the developmental code, we would. I don't know if there's anything else that would require a public hearing, but regardless, we'd want some public input in this.
Yeah, that's
process.
what I was gonna say. It'd be nice to know if people, like would be opposed to those requirements, because I don't want to make the changes and then not have anyone really feel like it's
Yeah.
worth it to make,
Yeah.
to flip their strips.
And I can ask them kind of per city, how much they've seen across the Wasatch Front. I know
That'd be
Hyde
great.
Park adopted this, so we can even see if any of their residents have started to apply for this. So I can ask the administrator kind of for I don't know, just some numbers, just to
Okay.
see some data points to see what people are actually doing.
Yeah, I can't see it's too negative. I'm kind of curious what developers think too, although I think that this would be pretty neutral, I would assume for most developers.
Yeah, on a developer wouldn't install the park strip.
Right, but
They would just have to do the 8 foot width. What that 8 foot width would do would take it out of our road,
Yeah.
out of the asphalt. So it wouldn't take it out of their property, it'd take it out of our asphalt.
I got you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it'd narrow the road up a little bit,
Oh,
which isn't always a bad thing.
I was
on
gonna say that may
residential
not be the
roads.
worst, yeah.
So if you
And
go
the-
drive through North Park Village, that would be an example.
which
of
one's
a
North Park Village?
narrower road.
East
1000
of North Park.
Oh,
So
okay.
going east of North Park, they have a low impact swale.
Uh-huh.
And they have a kind of skinnier road.
Yeah.
And they have a park strip. Their park strips are 5 feet, but it would be a little bit wider than that. But with the new SB 174 and the other associated developmental code restrictions, where they tried to go 25 feet, which doesn't even meet fire code. But then the state scaled back and said 32 feet on roads. This actually does fall in line with that, where 32 feet of asphalt and then you've got bigger park strips. It works out great. And the only areas where that wouldn't really apply is you do a slightly larger road for an impact fee related road.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But a regular developmental road would fall under these guidelines and it would probably work
Yeah.
out really well.
It does really promote street trees. And if you look around, that's one thing Scott's been pushing forever is street trees make a huge difference. up
Yeah.
there. So makes a huge.
They look
deal.
so much better.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
yeah, I think it's something we should definitely consider.
So we can start working on some, get with Scott, work on some code and work on some designs on what the roadway would look like.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds great. Thanks,
you.
Jordan.
Thanks, George.
Okay,
Thanks.
are you coming back? Don't leave.
I was ready to leave. I saw Buzzy packing up. I thought I was
Yeah.
out of here.
He's like, we're both out of here.
I.
We'll excuse Buzzy.
Kid.
Okay,
Okay.
So,
so we'll go to flooding preparation and mitigation.
Flooding. So I didn't change this slide. We still have the same groups going for EOC. We have ward group, service groups. We still are sitting on about 1,000 sandbags over the street shops. We've had a real big lull in people picking those up. There's been a few, but not very many. The big thing on Green Canyon, just as an FYI, we went up the canyon last week to check on water conditions at like our flume, which is above the yurt. The snowpack is still around 5 feet up there. But no water is making it out of the canyon currently that is not in our pipes. So we do pipe out of Water Canyon and it comes down and it hits the treatment plant. We've diverted a lot of that water up the canyon. And then what's coming into the treatment plant now is coming through and it goes out west towards the canal. But no natural drainage is actually making it out of the canyon yet. So this is fantastic news that we're at 5 feet of snowpack up there and we're still, the ground is absorbing that water. It means good news for our wells. It's good news that we're not flooding and we're really excited for our wells because that water is going to end up there. And so we'll continue to watch we'll continue to watch the snowpack. And like Alan mentioned earlier, 3100 North Pond, we have met with some contractors down there to get that construction underway. And we have been working with the canal company basically daily on flows through the city, making sure they're still working. The lowest canal here behind the city office has not put water in yet, which has been beneficial during these storms that we've had come through. So we haven't had to fight irrigation water with stormwater. So it's actually been we've stayed dry so far, knock on wood.
Have you had cities from the west or south reach out?
Not too much. So the Cache County has actually been taking a huge role in flood mitigation for those smaller cities out west. They've basically been devoting all their resources out there. So Cache County has done a lot for them. They haven't reached out to us yet, but Sandy Spenlove, who is our emergency coordinator, she meets with the county every week and offers all of our sandbags, offers what we have currently. They just haven't had need yet. So that's good as well.
Yeah.
Where would a resident get the sandbags?
They're at the street shop. So at 1630 north, about 1180 east, we have a bin there full of sandbags, and then we also have a filling station next to it. And we've sent that out in a couple newsletters and phone calls.
I haven't needed it, but now it's making me think, well, that's great. If
Yeah.
there's an emergency.
We've got a bunch ready.
Okay.
So
Okay, thanks, Jordan.
you bet.
It's great news. All right, we'll go to updates on water capital improvement
still
projects.
here.
Who knows anything about that? Who? Jordan.
Nobody. This one, if you go down to the bottom, this one updated at last council. Things have not changed, which is also a good thing. We have our well loggers up now doing pump tests on the well. So if you do get calls from people saying there is a lot of water coming out of the canyon, that's what it's from our well. So what they'll do is they'll pump test that well for about a 60-hour period where they'll run it around the clock. We have a lot of straw bales set up and mitigation issues or mitigation set up for the flooding. It won't flood anything, but if you do get a call, say, hey, there's a lot of water coming out, that's what it's from. With that, they went back and measured where they found water last year to where, when they first drilled the well, early January, to where it is now, and it's increased by 40 feet. So they found water 40 feet closer to the surface, which is fantastic.
Oh,
That's showing
good.
all that water's coming into the ground. So, and as Alan mentioned earlier, we're working with a ton of groups on updating water plans and tightening up USDA and DDW applications. So that's where we are on water.
Okay, great news. Do you want to give us updates on the Civic Center? Okay. Let's hear it,
Shout out to
Alan.
Alan for putting those all together, so Jordan didn't have to ping pong back and forth.
I did that on purpose, apparently. No, not many updates other than what you've heard. I mean, obviously the elevator shaft and then the block is going in, which is the structural block. So as you see that go in, that is the actual building. All the steel joists are on site. And so you'll probably see the building starting to take shape in the coming month. At least portions of it. They'll start building that. And that is great news to see that go into place. And then we've started looking at some finalizing some of the designs for the community center as well. So wrapping up a few things, final designs before it kind of goes to a committee that will start helping design that process, and the library being involved in that.
Okay. Thanks, Alan. And then we'll move on to reports from city officers, boards and committees. Jordan? Okay, you've said enough. All right, Lieutenant? Nada. Scott? And we have Scott on deck.
Just a quick reminder, if anybody would like to go to the mid-year cash summit at the Eccles Conference Center on June 15th from 5 till 7:30. Please let me know. We do have to register ahead of time. They do provide dinner. But it's basically a summit of local elected and appointed officials, planning staff, development staff to discuss zoning, regional zoning, housing, a few topics like that. So if you're interested, let me know. June 15th, 5 to 7:30 PM at the Eccles Conference Center. Okay.
Okay.
As far as the general plan goes, Alan had mentioned this earlier, but we do have our scope of work due to UDOT by the end of the month for approval. Once that's approved, we can go out to RFP, and it's like a consultant. So within the next, 45 days or so, we should have a consultant hopefully on board, and we'll jump into the general plan in the months following. So just FYI on that timeline. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Scott. So Scott Bennett, nothing. Marie, Alan?
Just upcoming events. Thanks to everyone who attended the Mountain Land Supply grand opening. That went really well. And then the Memorial Day program is coming up on Memorial Day at 11 a.m. This was very well attended last year. It's well attended every year. I mean, we have 100+. It's the only Memorial Day program in the Valley. And this last year was probably around 180 to 200 people that attended that. It was rained out, so we actually had to run over to a church to attend that. So it worked out really well, having that facility. But the reading kickoff, we've gone over that. Employee party, the Burnout Widow's Lazy Daughter, that's a play that's in conjunction with the 24th festivities. We'll see when that comes in. It might be around that weekend. Pioneer Day is on the Monday. Then the police night out is on August 1st. So those are several of the large events coming up.
What's the widow's lazy daughter?
That's the play associated with Pioneer Day. They did it about 10 years ago, and they usually do about 3 or 4 of those over the weekend of Pioneer Day.
When's the last time they did it?
Can I bring my
10
daughter?
years ago?
2014 is when they
Okay.
did the last one. It was very well attended. It sold out every single showing.
It just doesn't go without saying, like, that deserves an explanation for those of us who are
I'm
newcomers.
sorry. I am sorry.
Yeah, obviously we all know what that is. Lindsay, come on.
Okay,
We'll have more event or more details on that. One of the local families puts it together. And they involve all of the community
well,
in
that's cool.
that. So. Sorry, those are the upcoming events.
Okay. Okay, I think then we will adjourn, take a 5-minute break. And then go into executive session.
Perfect.
Do I need a motion on that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, motion to adjourn for a 5-minute break and then go into executive session.
okay, motion by Emily, second by Joni.